Hi, everybody. We are Group 1, and this is our final presentation on the Boeing Company. My name is Savannah Mowen.
I'm Matt Diggins.
I'm Cody Leach.
I'm Taylor Tarleton.
I'm Alex Pendleton.
And we will now transition into our presentation.
Boeing is one of the largest aerospace companies in the entire world. It makes everything from commercial planes to military jets and space tech. The company is based in Chicago, and its products are used globally by airlines, governments, and defense agencies. Recently, Boeing's been through some tough times. The 737 MAX was grounded after two fatal crashes in 2018 and 2019. The company has spent the last few years fixing the issues and getting the MAX back in the air, but they're still dealing with the delays in building the 787 Dreamliner and strong competition from Airbus. To recover, Boeing is also focusing on expanding its defense and space operations to bring in more revenue.
Transitioning into our mission and goals, it's important to understand Boeing's overall mission statement, which aims to protect, connect, and explore our world and beyond. To back this mission, Boeing applies many operational goals that include engineering excellence, accountability, lean principles, and many more. To touch on engineering excellence, Boeing aims to lead with the best engineers in the world, therefore producing the best products they can. As far as accountability goes, Boeing really aims to have their leaders be as accountable as possible and understand the work that they're working on from finish to end. Lean principles go hand in hand with eliminating rework in order to bring as much value to the customer as possible. Bureaucracy is aimed to be crushed within Boeing's mission in order to make people feel safe and comfortable to speak up when things are going wrong. It's also important for the company to reward stability. Not only are big outcomes very rewarded within Boeing, but also everyday outcomes to make sure this is prioritized throughout the workplace. By leading on safety, quality, and integrity, Boeing continues to execute its mission and follow it with the goals we spoke on today.
So moving into our pestle analysis, the first category is going to be the political aspects. Right now, Boeing is required to pay lower federal tax rates. It was at 35%. Now it's down to 21%. This just gives them more money to invest in projects and wherever they feel the need to. There is also a war going on in Russia and Ukraine, as many people know, and this has halted all of the production that Boeing can send their planes to Russia. I believe they had 62 aircrafts going over there. That is now halted completely. Moving on to the economic side, government spending plays a major factor in this industry because the government is spending money on those aircrafts. And that's kind of guaranteed revenue for them. Also, interest rates are rising and airlines are going to be investing less due to this. Moving on to the social, people are starting to travel more. They were closed indoors with COVID, and now they want to get out, see the world. So airlines are having to have more aircraft to try to get people to one place to another. On top of that, they also care about safety. You want your rates up, and with Boeing's history, there is that issue there that they're trying to overwork from. But on top of that, there's also the corporate social responsibility aspect. Boeing spent $160 million trying to put it back into the community because overall people are going to want to support a business that is actually doing good. Moving on to the technological aspects of the industry, you're going to want to have a competitive advantage over the other aircraft manufacturers. The more technology and components that you can add to increase your safety ratings and go into all the regulations and pass all those certifications, everything, you're going to have a better edge. Boeing specifically is using AI and automation within their manufacturing to lower their costs, drive up their profit margins. In terms of the legal issues, obviously the 737 caused a lot of legal battles, but then Boeing has also lost a ton of money by strikes by their workers, and they are working through those battles just so that they can try to keep them working, making aircrafts and making money. The last part of the pestle is going to be our environmental aspects. Everyone is starting to care about the environment even more, and this goes in with the noise pollution and then also with fuel pollution and all that. They want green companies, and that's definitely an opportunity that Boeing has. On top of that, there's increased emission regulations that Boeing has to meet, and that is our pestle analysis of the industry. Our next analysis that we need to focus on is Porter's 5 forces. The first of those is threat of new entrants. It is going to be very rare that new entrants are going to enter into this industry because it requires such high capital and such an investment to go ahead and do that. On top of that, like I mentioned, the certifications required are going to be very high. And so it's just not worth for new people to try to jump in there. That being said, we will focus on a competitor that is doing that kind of locally instead of trying to directly compete with them. On top of that, we have threat of substitutes. This kind of goes hand in hand with the new entrants. It is going to be very rare that we're seeing substitutes because aircraft has been one of the main methods of travel. But that being said, if aircraft gets too expensive, then you can go by land, you can go by sea, and all of that. On top of that, Boeing is able to eliminate the threat of substitutes by entering into long-term commitments. A lot of this industry is going to be relying over that. It eliminates a lot of these forces, and both parties can use that. And moving on to both of those parties, we have the bargaining power of the supplier. So Boeing is required to meet a lot of regulations, so it's really important that they have the best supplies possible. So this gives suppliers a big advantage when entering into those contracts, but Boeing, once again, is going to try to limit that by entering into long contracts, forcing the prices to be constant. And then as for the buying powers, it has increased dramatically recently because of the demand for flights. Airlines need way more aircrafts to try to get people from place to place. So this has definitely gone up. But this is limited by focusing on what the customers want. If Boeing can provide the best possible aircraft that is safety tested and meets all the regulation, then the buyers are going to have to go to Boeing because they have that competitive advantage over their competitors. But talking about the rivalry among competitors, our first main competitor is going to be Airbus. They are also in the long flights. And then on top of that, we're also going to have Embraer, or Embraer, however you pronounce it. And then the main thing with the competitors is focusing on competitive pricing so that airlines can still make their profits. So the first competitor analysis is with Airbus. So Boeing, obviously, when we look at it, they have a better revenue. They're coming in at $56 billion, where Airbus is only getting $46 billion. But the thing with Boeing is that they got set back by that 737 MAX issue. And so they're still trying to recover from that. 42% of their revenue is coming from their commercial airlines. Other than that, they're also focused on defense and safety, but we're mainly focusing on this. And that is what Airbus also does. But instead of Airbus kind of diversifying that, what they offer, they're offering more of a geographical approach. You're going to see them go internationally, and that has really helped them because let's say the United States economy crashes, they can rely more heavily on Europe's or Asia's, and that's really smart from Airbus. But Boeing kind of does that by diversifying what they offer. So they could, if commercial airlines are down, then they can go for defense. But as for the assets, we're going to see Boeing have 137 billion assets, and Airbus falls just shortly under that. But the difference is that Airbus owns all of their assets, where Boeing has negative equity. So that is not a good thing for them. On top of that, Airbus also has healthy profit margins coming in at $2.5 billion. And our second competitor is going to be Embraer. Their revenue is a lot smaller because they focus on local flights, kind of that shorter length. But they try to capitalize on the MAX 737 issues. And so they have started to market on that. But their revenue comes in at $5.2 billion. And specifically of that, $1.8 billion of those dollars comes from the commercial airlines. So obviously Boeing is making a lot more money, but Embraer is trying to enter into the market. Right now they're focused on shorter flights, and their assets comes in at $10.8 billion. So Boeing is a much larger company, but if they have another incident like the 737, there could definitely be a bigger market gap for Embraer to enter into. So as for our opportunities, there is a lot of opportunity, like I mentioned earlier, with green aviation. We want to have the safest quality products for the environment. So if Boeing can focus on this, then that will be definitely good for their company. On top of that, they can also enter into space aviation. We're trying to achieve new places as a society. And so if Boeing can be the first to do that, then they can go ahead and license it, and that will help them gain that market share as well. R&D investments, like I mentioned in the technological aspect of the pestle analysis, when they are able to invest and get better products, then they will be able to make more money from those products. And then also cybersecurity has been an issue recently. And if they can capitalize capitalize it on, then they're going to make a lot of money. As for the threats, the biggest threat is probably the 737 incident. You do not want one of those to happen again, because that just gives, that ruins Boeing's reputation that they've built up time and time again. And if that happens again, you're going to see Embraer and you're going to see Airbus try to kind of capitalize on it. On top of that, economic downturns are also very threatening, because if we have another lapse, kind of like what COVID did, where it shuts everybody down and people aren't flying, there goes Boeing's market. On top of that, that kind of ties in hand with the global chain disruptions. And then we also have a constantly evolving industry. We could wake up tomorrow and some new transportation method could be out there, and there's no telling if Boeing will be able to capitalize on it. They need to, but if they don't, then some other company is going to come in and get it done.
As far as the internal analysis goes, I want to first mention the internal assets, starting off with the expertise that Boeing has curated through their employees. Boeing has a wide variety of employees that range from senior executives, entry-level employees, to even interns. They really prefer to hire veterans. They've even hired over 18,000 veterans alone, which is really great for their work and opens up a lot of opportunities for people. They work to keep their employees motivated and educated by offering tuition programs, payment offers, leadership and development programs to advance even more, and just continuing on with the education. They live by the philosophy, never stop learning, and they truly do hold to it through their employees. Plus, with being a global company and one of the largest aircraft manufacturers, there are many employment opportunities are available. For the physical assets, they have an extensive technological and manufacturing equipment. Boeing invests $3 billion annually in their R&D sector alone. They have a goal of advancing into cleaner, more sustainable aircrafts that better help the environment. Their materials are advancing with 3D printed components that focus on reducing carbon emissions and noise pollution, as well as the use of AI technology to eventually create a completely autonomous aircraft. The use of advanced sensing systems allows for their progression towards this goal as well. Additionally, Boeing has taken it one step further to moving into the space sector, which they have already launched one rocket in 2022. As far as the capabilities go, with Boeing, the possibilities are pretty endless because the airplane manufacturing industry continues to advance. Like I mentioned before, their main goal is to create efficient and new commercial airplanes. Additionally, they work towards designing and integrating military platforms and defense systems, building military airplanes and even missiles. Plus, their advancement into the space sector regards military customers for their satellites and even rockets. Their continuous advancement in technology broadens their product offerings. Their core competencies follow their excellence in engineering. Their engineering and manufacturing are unmatched when it comes to their competitors. Being among the top leaders in the aircraft manufacturing industry, their high-efficiency aircrafts only continue to get better and evolve. Especially now with the use of AI technologies, they're continuing to evolve at a rapid rate in comparison to their competitors who may not have the access to the same AI technologies they do. They have a mission and they're moving towards it. The strengths of Boeing really focuses on the growing product portfolio with space, commercial, military. It really never ends for this company. They have a very extensive supply chain due to being a global business and have a very extensive large market share. Boeing is noted to be one of the most flown commercial airplanes globally. Plus, it has a positive customer relation. It's very important because they gain 70% of their revenue just from their international customers alone. The weaknesses of Boeing really falls under the fact that they rely on one big industry. Though it is a very large and booming industry, if any economic changes arise, they only have this one outlet and would have to figure out ways to overcome them quickly. Not to mention the 2 crashes of the 737 MAX due to design flaws, and they also had a very insensitive response to the backlash from their customers. Boeing has also noted being $33 billion in debt from operating losses alone. They're falling into a debt crisis and have to figure out a way to successfully get out, or they're going to fall behind very quickly. Boeing is struggling due to the high pressure from the customers to lower their prices and accommodate their needs with the current economic structure as well.
Getting into how things are done. Boeing has more of a top-down management, which means that basically all the big decisions are coming from the CEO and the senior execs, and then it trickles down to the managers, and then the rest of the staff just follows the orders. There's good and bad things about this. A great example, when the 737 MAX crisis happened, the top leadership made decisions to ground all the planes and make all the fixes with the aircrafts, and no one really said anything about it, and they kind of kept it quiet. But that also brings a lot of backlash, because as much as it helped them, it hurt them as well, because then it's like, all the backlash goes right onto the execs and the CEOs, and it's makes people question who really is running Boeing. And they need to start balancing their strong leadership with better focus on the safety and accountability and innovation to build trust in the people again.
All right, getting more into the strategy implementation that Boeing has, as we said, they have a top-down management approach, and this pretty much means that the lower you go down in the company, the less your opinion really matters. And this seems to have worked pretty well for Boeing so far, as obviously they're one of the largest airline suppliers in the world, and pretty much the execs make all the decisions, and everybody else kind of follows rank and does their role in order to make sure the company is running properly. And this current strategy obviously has been viable, but it has a lot of issues. And one of the main issues that I wanted to highlight is how Boeing is extremely focused on trying to make short-term financial gains. And one of the main problems with this is that they lack the effort towards innovation and engineering of their planes, which obviously has led to some of their losses, like some of the crashes. And just overall, their company has kind of been stagnated because they have not been focused on innovation as much as they should. And ultimately, this comes down to the leaders who need to take accountability for the company, considering they are top down. It all really all stems from the top. And then I've got some recommendations for that as well. So as far as the recommendations, one thing they can immediately do is allocate more of their time and resources towards research and development. This would go towards the fuel efficiency on the planes and just the overall design. Boeing can also work towards enhancing their quality control systems, and this would ultimately make their entire organization work a lot better. And everybody would be a little bit more connected with that. And they could also complete regular audits to see what's going on financially to make sure they're going in the right direction. And then finally, I'd like to talk about how they need to empower their lower level managers to become more part of the company so that it's not just a few people making all the decisions, because that's a lot of pressure on them, which can lead to stress and that can ultimately make worse decisions that just don't make sense for the company. So if they're able to get everybody involved, that would help the company to function better, and overall their profits probably go up as a result.
So we know that was a lot of information about the Boeing company that we just provided here today. So to break everything down for our conclusion, we want to make sure that Boeing continues to execute their mission, uses certain analysis such as PESTEL and SWOT to analyze their competitors as well as Porter's 5 forces, evaluate internal and external resources to understand their competitive edge within the industry, understand the internal SWOT not only of Boeing but other competitors as well. If executing a top-down management strategy, make sure to give those lower-level managers a say in things that are happening to make sure everyone is intertwined with that strategy. And last but not least, Boeing should follow the provided recommendations in the last slide. And these are our sources.